For centuries, your people have prospered on these strange and foreign shores, trading wares and civilized ideals with the natives. War looms, however, and you must take up arms to ensure their survival. The scions of Greece are destined to rule the world. Massilia shall conquer all.
Ready for battle.
There were two main gangs in Massilia: the Companions of Heracles, led by Euryblades, and the Ares Dread street gang, led by Xenon. In the winter of 270 BC, they worked together to set up a protection racket on the only trade road between Massilia and its neighbour to the east, Genoa. By the summer of 266 BC, Genoa's own gang, the Wandering Wanderers, had tripled in size, mostly due to the increase in poverty that the protection racket had caused. On the other hand, Massilia actually boomed during this period. This signified a change in focus from the east to the west for the gangs of Massilia. Xenon sent his fair sister ahead to scout out the crime lord of Tolosa. The Lord Corrigan had become fat and lazy, with his large mob of thieves and collectors also growing fat in the winter of a strong harvest year.
We hunger for battle. We hunger for battle.
They hungered for battle, but first they sent out word to the young thieves of Massilia.
Sign up, lads, for a good and glorious life.
Once the winter snow had melted, the two gangs of Massilia, the Ares Dread and the Companions of Heracles, made their way into the region of Tolosa. Xenon's fair sister lured out one of Corrigan's lieutenants and his guard, offering them all kinds of earthly pleasures. But of course this was a trap.
War! Oh, a good word! Honest! Our men will take your heads. A pity you are not a handsome people.
Euryblades, eager and brave, rode hard ahead of Xenon and ambushed the Corrigan lieutenant, who was utterly surprised by the attack and literally caught with his pants down. The Battle of Kissing Tree was short and furious. Xenon's fair sister barely made it out from under the hooves of Warhorse. The Corrigan lieutenant was soon whacked. His guard, loyal to the Corrigan outfit, fought on. Perhaps they knew the Lord Curtly Corrigan himself, along with his 3 remaining lieutenants, were due back up this hill any moment. How broken they must have been when it was not their brothers that topped the hill of Tolosa, and came bearing down upon them.
Organize yourselves! Riders at the double! Forward! Going out!
Said Euryblades, who had gained much confidence and respect with the whack of the Corrigan lieutenant. The centre of their formation was reserved for the enforcement arm of the two gangs, the OG Hoplites, who wore white cloth, carried short stabbing spears, and wore the latest sandals. Indeed, the Ares Dread and the Companions of Heracles were in a prime position. They had the town of Tolosa to their back, the Lord Kerrigan and the rest of the gang in front, and were themselves on the high ground in between. This was an historic moment, and signified the first time gangs of Massilia would unite to take on the powerful families of crime around them, the Corrigans being one of the largest.
What are they doing now? Shitting themselves, just like you! How stupid! They want to fight!
Do not shame the gods today. Fight!
Don't lose your head, it's straight to you!
Seeing that the Corrigans were not going to charge the hill, Xenon and Euryblades instructed their men to set up at the bottom of the hill, in an attempt to draw them into a fight. It was enough of a concession, and the proud Lord Corrigan sent forth all his men to charge the gangs of Massilia. They were pelted by stones and rocks. Shields up, they charged forth. As they drew nearer, the skirmishers of the Companions of Heracles drew back behind the lines of the Ares Dread swordsmen, who were further up the hill. Zenon positioned the OG hoplites on the flanks to protect the swordsmen and skirmishers from being outflanked by Lord Corrigan's remaining 3 lieutenants and their mounted guard. The huge wave of Corrigan criminals and bandits poured into the front lines and crashed against the swords and shields of Uriblade's men. The fighting was immediately intense, with hand-to-hand combat only interrupted by javelin or stone. The front line was locked into place, where the Corrigans outnumbered the Massilia gangs, but with an uphill battle ahead of them. On both sides, Corrigan lieutenants had tried to outflank, but faced opposition in the steep hill and well-positioned OG hoplites who were known as shot-caller killers for their ability to take out even the best protected gang leaders and lieutenants. Much of the Ares Dread had been held back in reserve, and now Zenon ordered them to swing around the left flank and simultaneously push back the skirmishers and ultimately attempt to wrap up the Corrigan front line with flank and rear attacks. Soon, the Corrigan front line was being squeezed by the successful outflanking, and the skirmishers that had been forcing the Massilian gangs to be cautious were also pushed back and forced to fight hand-to-hand or flee. The Massilian gangs had the flanks and still had control of the high ground, while the Corrigans were beginning to break through the front line. The Ares Dread swordsmen had finally broken in the middle, and the Corrigans took advantage and pushed through before turning and charging down the hill into the Massilian left flank. On the right flank, the fighting was just as intense. The OG hoplites who had successfully taken out the Corrigan lieutenants now charged downhill into the backs of the Corrigan fighters. This was no joke. This was one of the biggest gang fights that had taken place in 100 years. Uriblades, who found himself in the middle of the fight, was mortally wounded and fell from his horse in battle. Just moments later, Zenon was brought down in a hail of javelins. Both of the gang leaders of Massilia were now dead. The battle was winding down. The fighting was now drifting away from Tolosa Hill. Most of the Corrigans were either fleeing or already dead.
Double time! No!
The last remaining Corrigan gangsters fought bravely. Their lieutenants and Corrigan himself had not outlasted them, and were scattered around the battlefield among the many other corpses. A huge power vacuum would replace the loss of so many high-rank gangsters who fell on this day. The Massilian gangs had won the fight for control of the town of Tolosa. They had won the battle for the rackets.
Warriors, move out! Moving! Riders at the double!
With both Zenon and Uriblades dead, there was no one to make an impassioned speech.
Has anyone got any water?
So they just enjoyed the victory and celebrated it together.
Sir, shall we kill them all now?
What's its speed?
Victory! Victory! Victory!
Just like fighting a crocodile.
It was in this battle that a seed was planted, a seed that would develop into a name, a bloodline, an empire. Forged in the furnace of battle, a young Mercanti had tasted victory. His name was Theodotus, and he would become the first Mercanti Don.